Hey guys, thanks for watching again, and today we got a great project. It's the Master Sword. I know a lot of you have asked about it and wanted me to show you how to make one. This is the one that works great for my son. It's a good size for him, and it's kind of simple because he likes to play with it, and you don't want to destroy one if you've spent a lot of time doing a lot of detail on it. So you can make it as fancy as you want, but I'm going to show you how to make a simple version that you wouldn't mind sword fighting with. So how long do you make it? You know, this sword would be too short for me. So a good rule is, and this is just a rough idea because the sword lengths depend on the kind of sword it is. You know, broad swords, the ones that have just a single cutting edge and are longer and flatter, those ones can be a different size than a straight sword. This one is a double-edged, obviously. So what you're going to do is take a measuring tape and put it at the end of your finger. Go straight out, and wherever it meets your nipple, this one, 32 inches for me. That's a good blade length. So 32 inches on the blade. And then you might remember from one of the last videos, this is called a pommel, and this is called a guard. All of this part, that doesn't matter, that's extra. So 32 on the blade for me, and then whatever this is. So, and we're gonna see if we can pull that out of a scabbard as well. I don't know, 32 seems kind of long to be able to pull it all the way out. So in another video, we'll make a scabbard for it, and we'll see how long of a sword is the maximum length you can have to pull it out. What else? Let's talk about how this is constructed real quick. I'll move the camera close. I chose to use actually a harder wood. This is poplar, and you can tell the difference. Pine, I can shove my fingernail in kind of easy and make dents. Poplar, you can't really make dents so easy in your wood. You got to be careful poplar though, because it can be kind of green, and that's ugly. This is getting a little dark for me. You can also use maple. That's a really nice hardwood as well. So you can choose, and it doesn't matter, you can use pine if you want, whatever you want to do. But if you want a little bit harder sword, one that'll last a little longer, go with poplar or maple. This is 2 inches wide and 3/4 of an inch thick. Okay. So in the link below, I have another printout for you. You know how in the bottom of the videos you can see the description and all that. Click on that, and there'll be a couple printouts. I had to print this, you know, on 2 sheets because one sheet of paper is not long enough to catch the detail on the blade. So there'll be a couple sheets for you to print out. And first thing we're going to do is add the wood to make this part thicker. So if I need a 32-inch blade, let's see, here's how I'm going to mark up my piece of wood. Right here, I need a little bit for my lathe just to be able to destroy. When you put the bit in the lathe, it kind of ruins the wood, so maybe about that much. And let's see, let's go down 32 inches. Oops. There we go, right there. Okay, so there's the 32-inch mark, and now I need, let's see how much wood this is. Just under 8 inches, so let's do 7 3/4. Right there. And then again, at least a 1/2 inch for my lathe to mess up on this side. Okay, so I need 2 pieces of 7 3/4 to glue on the top and the bottom. But one of the problems I've already noticed is my lathe can't go. What is this full length? What would this be? 42 inches. I'll show you my lathe real quick. So this lathe is extended all the way back as far as it can go. And the biggest piece of wood I could put in here would be 38 inches. So I'm going to have to cut down the sword length. So 38 inches, that means I lose let's see. The handle side's got to stay the same. So let's just lose some blade length. What did I say, 38? Right there. So I lost, you know, maybe 3.5 inches. Not a big deal because I don't think I could pull. This looks impossible to pull out of a scabbard anyway. You know, my arm is only so long. So this looks good to me. Let's cut up some of the wood to glue on the top and the bottom now. Okay, so for me, my lathe can only go 38 inches, so I'm going to cut, we figured the first piece 38 inches long. Then the next two pieces, if you remember, needed to be 7 3/4. Here is the long 38-inch piece and the short 7 3/4 inches. Now, I'll probably put some different sizes of printouts based on how tall you are, because if you're doing this for a kid, you're not going to want, you know, a guard and grip and everything that's this big. You're going to want it smaller. So you look and see the right size for you. You know, so again, it's tip of the finger to the nipple, that's the blade length, and then this is extra. It's also same distance as crotch to the ground is going to be the same as the fingertip to the nipple. He said nipple. All right. So I don't know how many comments we're going to get on that, but we'll find out. So I'm going to glue these up. Again, don't put on too much, but it's better if you're going to make a mistake, put on too much glue than not enough. And when you clamp it, you want to see it oozing out just a bit, not gobs like we did on the bomb, but I didn't know how else to do that one. That one was pretty tough. But on this, you don't want too much, but you just want to make sure every part is covered. There we go. I'm going to leave a little bit of space there for the lathe to be able to work with. There we go. That should be good enough. Now I'll clamp this down. Here's one I already started working on. I'm going to take the clamps off of this and put them on that one. You can see the color difference in the wood. It's both poplar, but one is a lot lighter than the other. So these clamps are a bit long, but they're what I have, so let's do it. There we go. Just clamp it lightly in the beginning till I get them all in place. Here's what I mean about the right amount of glue. You can see that it's just kind of squishing through all the way around. If you don't see it coming out, that means you didn't put enough. This is the lathe I'm going to be using. In case you're unfamiliar with how they work, I'll show you. If I undo this screw here, I can lift up the cover, and you can see here's the motor, and it has these different diameter wheels there, and it drives the belt onto, again, different diameters. So I can adjust it to this one, this one, this one, or starting here and go up on that, and that'll change the speed every single time I adjust it. So with this one turn here would not make, you know, it's kind of like a bike, would not make a full turn here. So that's going to be slower. If I put it all the way on this big turn here, that's going to spin this a lot faster. So anyway, and I don't have to do anything except, I can't do this one-handed, maybe I can. You need two hands. If I just pull the belt and turn it, it's going to go to the next loop. So I don't need to use any tools to adjust it. And you can see if I turn it on here, it's a pretty quiet tool. I like it. Normally power tools are super loud. This one, you can talk to people while you're using it. So here you have the centering pin. This, you can see it's got these teeth that are going to grip into the wood, and that's where you put the center. Let me show you what that is. Here, this is, I've switched to this one because the glue is dried, and if I draw corner to corner, I'm going to get the center. Oh, let's focus here. There we go. If I draw corner to corner, it's going to give me the center on that little X, and I'm going to push that little center right in there. And then on this side, the same thing. The good ones, I need to switch this and have it be a bearing with a pin in it. This one just kind of burns the wood as it goes. It gets pretty hot because it's all that friction. This doesn't spin. A good one would spin. So I got to save up, get a new one of those. Anyway, on here, this is called a tool rest, and you can adjust, pull this back by undoing this, and that way it gives you more room for your work, but this is going to be pretty close because it's so small. And your chisel would lay on here, and the majority of the chisel's back here. You want this as close to your work as you can so there's not much leverage. If your chisel catches and this is too far back, it's going to flick up. But if it's close to your work and the chisel catches the wood, it's not really, you have so much back here that you're holding on to, it's not going to flick the tool out of your hand. Anyway, that's it. It's pretty simple. They're a fun tool to use if you can find one or are lucky enough to purchase one. All right, now this little X goes right on this pin here. And you just force it in. And then I go over to this side. Let me lock the wheels on the lathe so it doesn't roll on me when I push it. There we go. And I go over to this side. So I got it centered on the mark there, and if I adjust this screw, it's going to force this in. And I want it to go all the way to that outer collar there. And it's going to be pretty tight at first, till after a while it spins enough that it loosens, and sometimes you have to readjust this to push the pin in further once it gets too loose. But you should be able to spin it with a bit of friction, not too much. If it's too much friction, ease up and pull this pin back out. But once it's in the right spot, this tightens it so that it can't go back and forward anymore. That's all right. I mean, it's not, look, I can't free spin it. It's pretty tight. But once it turns on, it'll be just fine. Okay, so I'm going to spin the work here, and that clears this tool rest. You know, I got about just under ½ an inch distance there, which is fine. I'm going to knock this down till it's totally round, and then I'm going to worry about putting in the detail. So I've locked it in here. It's the right height. I've spun it. It's going to go towards me. And let me show you the chisels here. So I got this whole set. They weren't that expensive. I got these on eBay years and years ago. I like this one. Too many to show you well. Anyway, this one right here. This one's good. It's a nice, totally flat blade. I use that one a lot. And this is the same thing, just smaller, thinner of a blade. And then you have your gouge tools here, which is kind of this fingernail scoop. This is a wide one. I got different sizes of those. And then this is also fingernail shape, but it's totally flat. That one's nice to have. I don't use these too much. These thin gouge ones are good too. Anyway, usually get a whole set and then you end up with your favorites. So I took my long sleeve shirt off. If you ever take wood shop and you have a teacher that's worth anything, he's going to scare you before you ever pick up a power tool about what can happen if your clothes get caught in something like this. So long clothes, you don't want any loose clothes near, especially power tools that spin, like a drill press or something like this. It can get caught, get nasty, because power tools are completely merciless when it comes to caring that your clothes or long hair gets caught in them. So no long hair, no loose jewelry, no necklaces, no loose bracelets, no long sleeves. You don't want anything that can get caught, because if you had long hair and it gets twisted around here, you are in big trouble. So anyway, also safety glasses. I'll put those on, and this is the chisel I'm using. It's just a simple flat one, and I'm just going to slowly take off some material here, and after a while you're going to have to adjust this tool wrench, tool rest to get closer to it. But anyway, enough talking, let's get started. Okay, you're gonna know when it's time to move your tool rest, because this starts getting more squirrely and you get a lot more vibration on it. So let's move this to about there. Tighten it up again. I'm getting right up to this flat edge there. So now what I'm going to do is get a pencil, and let's fold this paper in half. And I need to transfer the markings onto the wood. So there to there, it starts to curve up. This section is completely flat, and it goes down, little bump to here, and all of this is the skinniest part, and I got a little lip there, here, and it goes back down, and then is rounded. So then I can turn it back on, and I can still see the pencil marks, so I'm going to make them brighter. There's where the handle stops here. There's a little lip, gets bigger. There we go. Okay, so here's how I'm going to do this. I have the printout. I'm going to explain it and then just do the whole thing. Here's a good way to tell if you're the right diameter. You can get a crescent wrench and adjust it. I'm going to do a little bit bigger, because I want to leave room for sanding and stuff like that. So I got a little bit bigger than the diameter here. And so when I spin this work down, and I think I'm getting close, I can just check it with this crescent wrench to make sure that I am the right thickness. So with that said, I'm going to cut this center part down, and I'm going to be checking it with the wrench, and then I'll move on to the rest of the work. this part, I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is wider than this. So I'm gonna make mine smaller by a bit, which is fine. All right, now I'm done with the rest of it. It's good enough. I'm going to cut this off, getting as much of a curve as I can before it actually breaks. All right, that's good enough. That's less than 1/4 of an inch right there. That's like, wow, that's pretty thin. So I'm just going to cut it off rather than have it break off while it's spinning. Right, now we're going to decide what to do here. You can see on the sword how it comes out. Here's the handle, bumps out. Now you can either draw this and cut in your sword the whole way down, but I don't want this sword any thinner. So, and plus that's 2 long parallel cuts all the way down. It's just not fun to do. So rather than do that, I cut off some scrap. You know, it's the same wood as this, about just a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch. I'm just going to glue it on there, and then we'll shave these down. That'll be a lot less work. Spread it on. Smear those together again. Make sure it's nice and goopy. I gotta tighten it slowly because I don't want it to slip. Alright, now taking a look, you can see how it's going to be. You put these in, you want them parallel with each other and nice and flat on top and bottom. And we'll cut in on these new little pieces rather than cut in the whole length of the sword. Alright, it's been about an hour. Now, usually I like to let things glue overnight unless I'm a little impatient and want to get going. And a minimum of a half an hour, absolute minimum, on wood glue for almost everything. But an hour is good enough. It's going to be strong enough to keep working on it. Yeah, you can see here, this is all still wet, but inside that's dry, but the blobs are wet. So this is good enough to get going. We're going to trace it onto the wood. So I recommend printing a lot of these. That way you can just kind of trash them. Just draw a line there. I'll put a mark there. And draw a line here. This there's more material I'm going to take off on this side. Okay, this is the same setup as the other sword. If you saw the last sword video, I got 40 grit in here. Remember, the lower the number, the coarser the sandpaper. So this is really aggressive. I'm not going to need to put it on the sword for that long. Then I taped the shop vac hose up there. So let me switch on the shop vac. Okay, you can see how that removed all that material. So I'm just going to do that on the other sides and take this down just a little bit. All right, now I put on a 120, which is kind of a big jump. I'm just going to clean this up just a little bit. All right, by the way, when marking your wood, never use a pen. It takes a lot longer to sand that off than it does just a pencil. I'm going to extend this center line all the way down on this side and also down the center on both sides, just like that last sword video again. And there's that one. There we go. All right, and these lines help you when you're sanding. Make sure you're not taking off too much or going too far or it's uneven. And this is going to be a lot harder to sand because, again, it's harder wood. So it takes more time. All right, now we need to do the center all the way down. I'm just going to, again, rather than measure, I always just fold paper. I creased it there. I'm going to fold it in half. And exactly where that fold is, which isn't going to show up on camera, but I can see it. That's where the center is. I'll just do this the quick way. I'm going to hold my finger really tight against this and to use it as a guide. All the way down. You're going to print this out, and wherever the end of your sword lays, that's where you're going to put the tip here. This is thinner than the wood, actually. Maybe I'll print a few thicknesses just in case you're, yeah, maybe I'll do that. On the printout, I'll have some wider blade tips just in case you have a wider one, but I'll use this for now. This will work. I'm going to just scooch it up here. Okay, here we go. Flip it on. Now, this is one of my least favorite tools. It's just never been that accurate. This has always been kind of squirrely, so, but it's good enough for a rough cut for right now at least. So let's get this going. And now that that's shaped and cut, I can extend this center line like that on both sides here. All right, I just got back from Lowe's. I had to pick up some thicker grit sandpaper. This has a 36, 60 grit, and 120. Now 36, this is really rough. If you've seen me before, I'd even touch this sometimes when it's spinning. There's no way I'd have skin left if I touched the 36 grit while it's spinning. So I'm going to watch your fingers on that. Change this here. I just wanted to get the coarsest grit they had so that I wasn't wasting time sanding this down. This might be actually just too aggressive though. It's just going to eat through the material. We'll find out. Okay, so again, this is just like, I'm assuming you've seen the last sword video. I'm just going to ride this along at an angle and go. Now, I'm not going to the line because I don't want this sword to be, like a razor's edge, because that'll just get destroyed when it gets hit. Wood's not going to hold up. It's not actual metal. So I'm just going to take this down close to the edge. I'll probably leave the edge maybe 1/8 of an inch thick around there. And I'm going to go slow at first because I don't want to ruin it. It's going to be easy to take off material. You can't put it back on. So anyway, let's switch on the, let's see, everything plugged in, yeah. Let's switch on the shop vac and then the sander. Okay, let's see if I can show you how it worked here. So get focused. You can see the sanded edge. I'm trying to stay balanced in the middle of the sword. I think I did a pretty good job. All the way up to the tip. I got to work on that a bit. Move that around. Here you can see I took off a little bit too much here, but it's okay. I got to take off more on that side anyway. And on the edge, let's focus there. There we go. You can see I'm trying to stay even all the way to the line, the same amount of material on both sides. So it just takes a little bit of dancing, but this seems pretty good. I think I'm going to take some material now off the tip, thin this out just a bit, and then I'll move to a lighter piece, not so coarse. Now let's go down to, what is this, 60 grit. That takes off so much material, that 36 grit, unbelievable. It'd be easy to shave off too much. So what I'm doing here, when you see me adjusting this, this has a tendency, these things, to make the belt want to go either too far this way or too far this way. This adjusts the tracking so it stays right on course there. I've been having trouble with this sander. I gotta replace the button, but I've had this for years. There's a lot of mileage on this sander, so let's see how it works now. Now let's take off this one and put on the last one. This pack is pretty good. It's got the 36, 60, and now we're 120. So we're doubling the number every time. See if I can press my luck and get this going again. Almost forgot. Okay, let me tell you what I was doing when I was working on the sander. I did a lot of this stuff at the beginning, and I was trying hard to hold this sword at an angle here. I don't know if you can tell, but that's flat. This is lifted up, so I'm cutting the blade part. And I tried to keep it the same, then I'd flip it around and do the other side. Then I'd have to flip it this way, try to keep it the same angle, then flip it around, do that. When I was done doing that, I went the long way on the sander, and that's going to take out all this weird unevenness from going like this way. So I'd pull it that way at an angle. This is flat, that's tilted. So I'd pull it along that one, and that really straightened the edge up beautifully. Then the last thing I did, if you saw me, I had it flat, not at an angle this way or this way, but flat, and I'm pulling it. I'm just tapering the blade a bit, so it's thinner here than it is up here, and that's going to take a lot of the weight off. If this is really front heavy, it's not going to be fun to hold. So I didn't take off much, but it does taper down here and get thinner. So anyway, pretty good. All right, I'm starting off with 120 sandpaper. That's what I left off with here. And you're going to see a lot of little spots that aren't perfect, so you can get all those. Then I'm going to go to a higher grit, and I don't know what it is, but I'm not going to finish with 120. So this is going to take a while, so we'll just skip ahead, huh? Yeah, I couldn't believe how that 36 grit just ate up the wood. Just tore through it. And the dust that came off, you really can't see it that well, but it's thick. It's not like fine dust that comes off on the high grit sandpaper. It's, you know, kind of like chunks of wood. Really made this quicker. So if you're starting off and you don't have, you know, if you're starting off on like a 60 grit, it's going to take you a lot longer to do. Before we put on the guard, you know, the part that comes out here, I'm going to have to shave off this extra that was left over from the lathe. So just clean it up. You know, there's just this little bit of a lip that I didn't get. See if I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. See this? It's just kind of messy. Here's a huge one. So I'm just going to cut that off, make it round, you know. Okay, this cleaned up pretty easy. I'm excited about it. And when you're gluing this piece and this piece against this piece, make sure that they're even, at least on the top. That'll save you some work cleaning it up. Anyway, so the next thing you have to do here, I've already done it. I cut out this shape here, this horn there and that one there, and right like that. So cut that piece out, and then you're going to trace it onto, where did I put that beam? You're going to trace it onto a piece of wood like this, and you're going to do two of them. So just flip it over there, do another one. Now my wood wasn't long enough to get this little last bit, but it doesn't matter. So then you run over to the bandsaw and cut them out, or whatever saw that you have. You're going to cut those out. Okay, now that these are cut out, this is going to be a little tricky. What's going to happen is these are going to go right there. And we're going to go and get another piece of wood to go along and sandwich these two on. So the whole thing's glued with a piece of wood all across the top and all across the bottom. All right, we're here in Lowe's again. And here's the wood you can use. And this is a focus here, a 1x3. Actually, it's not 3. You gotta remember how lumber sizes work. This loses a 1/4 inch on each side, so this would be 2.5 inches wide. Or you can go down to this 2-inch piece here, and that's gonna be knocked down to 1.5 inches. So you're gonna lose a 1/2 inch. That's what the planers do. Now, this is poplar again, so like I said, it can look kind of green. I don't know if you can tell on camera if the colors are calibrated right. That's pretty green here. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. This is super green. Again, I don't know if it's coming through. This is like crazy green, so you got to be careful with poplar. And maple is not like that. Maple doesn't go green so much. You can also pick up some of this down here. If a store has it, you don't have to use this, but this is 1/4 inch thickness, and you can get away with a thinner piece if you don't want to spend as much on that. So I'm going to grab one of these. All right, let's go back and start working. All right, well, we cut these pieces out. They're going to glue right there, and we need to cut out 2 more pieces of wood to sandwich them. So I'm going to cut out this whole outline here. You get some 1/4 inch. This is 1/4 inch poplar. Okay, so now we just put this on and trace it again. So with both of these things cut out, I'm going to just clean them up. So I'm going to align them on the markings there. Hold them real tight and just turn on the belt sander and make them kind of more identical here. So what we have is 5 pieces of wood, and we're going to glue them all together. Now you want to make sure you take your time on this because there's no going back once it's all glued up. So there's going to be a piece on the top and the bottom like this, and then these pieces, right here on the sides. Okay. Now it's going to have the tendency when you're clamping it to want to move around because of the glue. So you got to watch out for that. Let me move this closer there. So I decided, now I've done this before without a pin nailer, but I'm going to use this. These are, if you haven't seen one of these nail guns before, these nails, they're actually called pins. They are just micro. Can you see that? Isn't that tiny? Tiny little thing. And what this is awesome for is, goes in here, you need a compressor. So let me plug this in. Okay, put in some air. And what this will do is once I get the work where I want it, and the glue's on, I can just pop a few pins in there, and it'll hold till the glue dries. So I'm going to still use clamps afterward, but at least it'll stop it from sliding around on me. And I cleaned up a little bit of the edge here as much as I could, just with a razor blade and some sandpaper, because once this is glued on, getting in these cracks is going to be pretty difficult. So you might want to do that now. Okay, so I'm going to hold this on my finger, and hopefully I don't know where the pencil is, so let me just scratch a little bit so I know where to start and stop gluing. Okay, there's a bit of a scratch. Okay, we'll put on some glue. And I don't want too much coming out because I don't want to have to do a horrible cleanup. Okay. There we go. Down there. All right, that's good. That's nice and covered. Okay. So boy, do I want this right. It can't be too far this way, or crooked. It's got to be straight. So some people have a good eye for this. I do. You can see a picture frame and go, that's crooked. Now, even though I have a good eye, sometimes I blow it. I'm going to do my best here. That looks pretty good. Sometimes the wood grain messes with you because it's going this way, so I'm just going to squint. I think that's pretty good right there. I think I'm going to live with that. Okay, so I'm going to put in, let's make sure this works. Where's a scrap? Here's a scrap. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, here we go. And hopefully this doesn't slide around on me when I'm nailing it, because that can happen too. There we go, one tiny little pin hole there. Isn't that great? I got a set of these and they all get bigger, so there's 3. I think I didn't even pay $100 for them. Super good deals at Home Depot. Let me hold this up. Yeah, that looks good. I think we're good. So I'm going to put in a few more. Put in one right here. Let's just do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's pretty tight. And I've done this before with just holding it with clamps, and you can do it. It's not fun, but don't get too frustrated, because I know a lot of you won't have these little pin nailers here, but put that on your Christmas list because they're awesome. Okay, let's get this all glued up. That's a lot again. Okay, let's see, I can transfer some of that onto this piece. Okay, that's good. All right, so I'm gluing this side and this side here. I think I want more right here. There we go. Okay. And this isn't supposed to align perfectly because it was meant to be sanded down later. So if it's a little misplaced here and there, I mean, you don't want it, you want it as good as you can get it, but the design was to allow for a little play. Okay, that looks all right. Now let's get this one. Gonna do the whole thing here. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm happy enough. Let's nail this down. Okay, and I can double check. I'm gonna look at the side, make sure these are lined up. All right, now let's get the clamps. If all you got are C-clamps, you can put these on, but they leave marks on it, so put a piece of wood in between so you don't smash them in. I'm gonna use those big ones again. Okay, so we got it all clamped up now. This one's just a little extra. Once this glue's, I'm going to go in there with a razor blade right now while the glue's wet, just because that's going to be easier to chip out. Let's see, I think that's good. I'm happy with this, so we'll check back on this in the morning. So edges like this I can get with the belt sander and clean those up really quickly. And I could probably reach a bit on top. But a lot of this inside here is going to be more difficult. So this is where it takes some time. You can get a razor blade and clean it up like that. You can get some files. This is where it's just going to take some time. So maybe put on a good show or a movie or something, sit down and have some fun cleaning it up. So use razor blades or X-Acto knives, whatever you have, and clean this up as much as you can where the sander won't reach. And there's going to be glue blobs to chip off, things like that. You can file and sand it down as clean as you feel you want to make it. I was going to try and do the whole thing with just an X-Acto knife and some sandpaper, but I forgot about this tool. You know, it's like a Dremel. It's Black & Decker brand, but I almost never use this. I've had this for years and I've only used it a handful of times, even with all the stuff I do. But let's try it again anyway. I'm going to put it on a low setting so it doesn't get too squirrely on me. Let's see how this works. On here is a, it's one of these. You can change some sandpaper tips and just slip on new ones, different grits. So the one on here feels pretty rough, but let's see how this works. Let's see if we like it. I guess it's okay. It's hard to hold this. Like if this was a pencil size, that'd be a lot easier. It's pretty bulky. Yeah. To be really effective, I think I'd need something a lot skinnier. It does take off material though, but I don't know that I'll use this the whole time. Well, it's handy enough. But these kind of things you have to make sure you can control them, otherwise they'll jump around and mess stuff up. Anyway, so that's how these work. I don't even remember how much I paid for this. I got it so long ago, but really I just don't use it much. So I thought I'd show you it. Now it's cleaned up quite well. I'm happy with that. So I was going to add some wood here, and you can either do that, but actually I decided to change my mind. I'm going to cut this out again. And what I'm going to do is, instead of adding wood, I'm going to cut into the wood that's already there. I'm going to hold it down. Take my X-Acto, and you don't want to move much. You want to keep this still. Keep the paper still. So first I'm going to start by slicing off here, and I'm pushing really hard into the wood just to make a mark. And I'm holding down the paper really hard. There we go. Sliding a bit. And what this is doing, if you can't tell, is giving me, it seems to be easier if you start in the middle and then go out to the edge. It doesn't fold the paper as easy. There we go. There we go. So now I have some marks. You can do it like that, or you can do it like this. You can just eyeball it. Let's follow this curve around. That looks about right. Now this is going to be 3 sections. Let's see how accurate I am. Yeah, pretty close. Look at that. Right here, right here. And they're all going to curve to about here. There we go. So I'm going to cut in, like you saw me do, really deep. Cut in right there. And then I'm going to go at an angle. This is a little harder because I'm holding it in a funny position so the camera can get it. Normally I don't work like this. So I'm going deep like that, and then I'm going at an angle and shaving it off. Now, if you haven't done much of this and you haven't used these X-Actos much, chances are you're going to cut yourself. So I have some band-aids ready. I've been using knives like this for years and years. But, you know, don't be too afraid. Just cut away from yourself. What you don't want to do is be holding a piece of wood and just be pulling the knife, and then right into your, you know, stomach or arm or whatever you got. So you can see here that we're moving a lot of material. I'll round this down. I'll round these edges down. And when it comes to cutting these, the same thing. I'm going to go this way. And then I'll turn the knife and go this way. So I'm cutting a V shape in here. This one's more straight down. And anyway, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to round these edges here as well. And we'll make this look a little bit closer to what it should look like. I can't get as thin as some of the other replicas are just because this is wood and it'll break. I want to keep this kind of strong for you know, just messing around with if you want to. Anyway, so I'll get going and we'll skip ahead. All right, guys, here's a look at it. I've spent about an hour and a half on it so far. You can see it came out pretty good on this side. I still have to do that one, but on this side it worked pretty well. I went down all the way to the pine layer, right here on these little points, and just rounded lots of corners, did a lot of rounding, and I think it worked out pretty nice. So if you've never carved with a razor blade before, I don't know if you can see the wood grain. It goes, you know, I assume you know what wood grain is. All the fibers of the wood go in one direction, right here. And so if I cut, because this is going that way, if I cut this way, real easy. If I go into the wood grain like this, it just gets, I'm going to cut myself if I go like that, but it just kind of tears the wood. It's really hard to cut. So if you're having a hard time sculpting this, you got to pay attention to which way the grain's going. If it's kind of chipping up, go cut the other way. So let's see, the wood grain right here is going this way, so here I would cut this way, not up. So you'll figure it out when you try it. Okay, I decided to give this tool another go, and it hasn't done too bad a job cutting grooves in. I put this a new drum of sandpaper on it, so I'll show you how I do it. Now there's a speed adjustment on the back of here. I have it set about halfway. So, and the switch to turn it on is here. And again, I think I'd like this a lot more if it was one of those pencil types. So it's got this cord that goes around, and just what you're holding spins. You're not holding the whole motor and everything else. So that would be, I think, a lot easier than I mean, this is a lot to mess around with. So anyway, let me show you how this works. So there's a nice gouge, and that's enough to get me started. You can see all that burn in the wood there. All right, you get the idea. See, here's another one. I got to turn the work around to get this piece here. Let's do this last piece. Anyway, you get the idea. It's not that bad, but again, I don't really like that tool that much. All right, so I'm going to get going again with the knife and just keep rounding everything out, taking off, you know, chunks. A lot of times your fingers are going to hurt. Oh, let me tell you another thing. So a lot of X-Acto knives are going to be about as thick as a pencil, and that's going to kill your fingers because you're really digging. So get a fat one like this. This is like, you know, 1.5 times bigger than this. So it's just easier to hold on to. And what I'll do is I'll use two hands. I'll push with my thumb here. And again, always cut away from yourself. That way you're a lot less likely to hurt or get hurt. So, you know, I'll just push it with the thumb, take off chunks, chunks, chunks. And then when I need to, I'll rasp it down, you know. So just go slow, have fun. I don't know if I was off camera on that or not. It's hard to film and do this at the same time. But see that? Just start taking off bits, you know. And can go in here. Just kind of make everything deeper and round everything out. And so I'll finish up this side. I don't know if it'll go any quicker now that I've done one side, but see you in a bit. Well, I was up last night working on it, and I think it came out pretty well. I have no cuts on my hands. There they are to prove it. With all that razor blade work, you just expect you're going to get cut somewhere. But I think it turned out pretty good. So I'm pleased with it. I wasn't going to go all detailed like this, but once you start, it's hard to stop. So what I thought we would do, because this is turning into a really long video now, I thought we'd end here for now, and I can upload this. And next week we're going to do the finished work. There's a lot of detailed work now that you can do, and might as well. I made one of these just real quick before I started filming, and that would go right there if you want to do a wood one like that. And that was pretty easy to make. Again, we just did it on the belt sander. Let me load this tripod here. I thought for fun we could read a couple messages, because I noticed that there are pretty much really close to 5,000 subscribers now on this channel, which is just crazy cool. And that's awesome, guys. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't yet, click subscribe, because it encourages me. I probably wouldn't have made this many videos at all without, I probably would have stopped after the first 3 if not as many people subscribe. So it encourages me to keep going. So if you want to see more, you got to click subscribe, and that way you'll get updated and things like that. But yeah, 5,000. Wow, it hasn't even been a year. That's really cool. So let's see. So I thought we'd read some messages, and let me pick which one first. Okay, this is Stacy Andrews. She says, and this is an older message, but she says, I was inspired to make a shield, exclamation, exclamation. I'm making one a little differently with a template from Wind Waker that I had to measure out myself, and I'm also giving my graphics relief, that's pretty cool. Because of your video, I was so inspired to cosplay Link, and he is my second cosplay ever, exclamation. Well, that's really awesome. And if you guys want to send pictures of stuff you make, I know it's hard to do on YouTube. It's hard to send anything. But if you want to send any pictures, I have an email you can send them to. It's happyadamirl@gmail.com. That's happyadamirl@gmail.com. And it's spelled ATOM, like an atom bomb. And in the subject is really important. You have to put viewer mail, or it might go into the spam filter, and I might, because you know how emails are. I really actually don't use email that much, but it's helpful for things like this. So you gotta click or write viewer mail in the subject. So that's the way I get it. I love this tutorial. This is from Kaio. And I made a shield, and I'm working on the sword right now. Do you mind making a master sword? Question. I like the wooden sword, but I like the master sword. Well, here you go. We just made it, and hope you like it. So that's awesome. Again, Kaio, and anybody else, if you have pictures you want to send, go ahead and send them. Okay, and this guy, Louis C. This is a newer message. He says, and he's responding to the scabbard video that we just put up. And I said, should I make the Master Sword nest? He said, yeah, make the Master Sword definitely, but please branch out, maybe Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, or even Lord of the Rings. It seems fitting since given your son read the Tolkien books, which is awesome, by the way. And also, if I may add, I'm really interested in how you kept the tools simple in the beginning. Like using the sander to shape the wood sword, only because it fit my budget. In this video, I'm not sure if you mentioned that it can still be used. Okay, what he's asking, yeah, any inputs appreciated. Thanks for the uploads, have a good year. He's saying in the scabbard, and I don't have the scabbard with me right here. Remember, we used the router bits, these little, on the router table, and I moved it around and just cut that corner real easy. Sure, use your belt sander. Remember these that we used to make the sword? Use that for your scabbard, you know, roll the edges, and that puts on an easy curve. You don't have to use all the tools I have. You know, in one of the best things I did was take wood shop, and in high school, and I took 4 years of it, actually 5 years, because senior year I took 2 of the same class, it was awesome. I had an extra class I could take. They said, what do you want to take? I said, can I take the same thing? And they said, sure. Nobody does that, but anyway, so, you know, third period was over after wood shop. I was just there for an hour, and then fourth period starts. I didn't leave. I just had all my stuff still out, and I got to use all those tools again. That was really, thanks, Mr. Ritchie. That was really awesome. He taught me a lot, and I wish I took metal shop. I just, you know, I wasn't interested in metal at the time, but that would have been cool now. But anyway, let's see. Para3D and Natalie say kind of the same question. What are the little pieces of swords? And then he puts the time codes. Natalie writes, I saw a box of those swords. Is there any chance you're selling? And that was the one that was in this corner. Do I want to sell these? I hadn't thought about it. And I don't know, maybe that's a Facebook discussion. I set up a Facebook page for this channel as well. You can click about and see the Facebook thing. It's going to be boring at first because I just set it up, so there's really nothing there, but you can go and I'll start to put up content, but maybe we can have that discussion on Facebook on how to sell these. I have these, and remember in the first video I said if you make one, make a bunch, because a lot of people are going to want them. Well, so that's what this is. You know, if you set up your tools, half the time let's say you're making a sword, half the project time is setting up the tools and cleaning up the tools. It's really not that much more work to make, you know, there's a few dozen here. So maybe I could do that. Maybe I could sell them. We'd have to figure out a price and how to send it. But one thing I would not want to do is actually finish these completely. I think if I did do this, I think I would get it all the way ready for the final, you know, just little sandpaper sanding. And I wouldn't do that. I'd put that in the envelope with a tiny little piece of sandpaper. You could do just the fine sanding, and then you could stain it yourself. Because that just, I lose interest when it comes to to the finish line on projects. I don't know if you're like me, but I'll just go for it, and make crazy cool stuff like this, and then just at the very end not finish it because I'm excited to jump onto the next project. And I got just piles, you can ask my wife, of unfinished projects. But painting, I don't know, I'm always getting it on my clothes. And I'm ruining my clothes because I always think I can do it without splashing stain on me. And so, this time I'm going to be real careful. And oh, great. And I look at my clothes and I got paint on them. Well, you know, no promises, but we can talk about that on Facebook. But I'm not going to do it forever. I know that. Anyway, I hope you like this video. I think that's it. Is that all the questions? Yeah. So maybe we'll read questions every video. Maybe not. But if you want to send a specific question, if you have suggestions for videos, things to make, I mean, I got a whole pile of Zelda stuff I like to make. Yeah, he said, Lewis, his question was maybe branch out. Why is there so much Zelda stuff? Well, that's just because my kids, that's what they're into right now. They like Zelda and Minecraft, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of in the house right now. But I like Zelda from when the first one came out. I was in, I think, 6th grade. I'm guessing it was around 6th grade, 6th, 7th. And everybody loved it. It was just the best game ever, and played it all the time. And then the second Zelda came out, and that one stank. We still played it, but nobody liked it as much. So I think they learned their lesson on what made the first Zelda good. And then you saw that again in the third Zelda video game. And then it seems to be the pattern. Because Mario 2 stank as well. Mario 1, awesome. You know, Super Mario Brothers. And then the second one stank. And then the third one, they go back to the way the first one was and made it even better. The third one's awesome. Same with Castlevania, they did it too. The second Castlevania I thought it was no good. But that's old stuff, and I don't know how many of you guys are even playing that anymore, but I think we covered everything. I think this is good. Can we finish this video? Can I upload it? Editing takes forever, so hopefully I can do this quick. Oh, it reminds me, a lot of the music that you hear in this video, maybe I'm playing some now, I don't know what I'll put in right now, but you know, the chiptune music it's called, the 8-bit kind of video game sound and stuff, all that is from a band called Grayscale, and I'm pretty sure if I remember right, they're from Poland. Great band. I'll put a link to them in the description. They're awesome guys. Thank you for letting me, they allowed me to use their music. They're great guys. So anyway, again, you got questions about tools, you got questions about can I do this or what, send it in the email, or you can put it in the messages and I'll read those too. But I'll get ready for painting and finishing. We'll do some cool stuff to this. Not sure. I don't know if I want to do purple, or maybe I'll just do it my own. Maybe black, silver, gold, something fun. I don't know. There's all kinds of possibilities with this. So, you know, if you do this, make it your own as well. One thing is, if you look at, okay, how to make a master sword, there's so many styles. They're changing this all the time. Even in the same kind of promotional artwork, you'll see differences in the way this is designed. So, you know, pick what you like and do it however you like it. If you like, you know, certain design a handle better, or this flares out, sometimes there's not these little horns at the end there, you go for it and do it however you want. But next video, we'll do the detail work. Again, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Click subscribe if you haven't. I'll shut up. Let me turn this camera off so I can get editing. And I'll check in with you guys later. Bye.